Well, here we are. My first stream. Let's see how this goes. I don't know what to say in the stream, so it's gonna be a little wacky for my first go round. I got some Gatorade. Ready to start going. So basically, I've been over the last couple of weeks. I had this project over on GitHub. I hope you can see my screen all right. Called Infinite MC, but it stalled last summer, and it was just a hobbyist thing. And so I've kind of been using it to form and meld this this MMO plugin I'm building. But I don't know if this is actually going to go anywhere. But it's more for me to learn some best practices and stuff in Java. We'll see how this goes. So yeah, the code in here you can see under. I am in the chat, by the way, on my phone. So if you want to send me any messages, feel free. So under here, there's commands, punishment commands for Minecraft server style stuff. You gotta have punishments. You gotta have, you gotta replace the me command because the me command is super annoying. Nobody likes it. Ranks. So I have a rank system, basic rank system, stores in MySQL, stuff like that. So yeah, I just basically I ported that code over into this MMO project, just calling medieval MMO, but it's just it's just gonna be super casual and yeah. So I'm doing something I've never done before, which is unit testing. I've done it at work a little bit, but it's new as far as Bukkit and Minecraft plugins is concerned. I've never done unit testing for that before, so it's definitely going to be new. I already wrote a bunch, so I've already established the basis. I just kind of wanted to document some of this and put it onto YouTube for everyone else to see. So yeah, that's why I'm streaming. And so yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm in the chat, or if you have me on Discord, you can totally do that as well. So yeah, basically I'll go through just a little bit. So I'm using Hibernate for my and JPA for my persistence API. So any JDBC calls are actually going to go through that instead of in the past. I'll show you. I have this stupid MySQL DB class over here that handles the entity manager and oh no, I think I did use Hibernate in this project. I was looking at my old Climax PvP code. This was years ago. This is probably 4 years ago at this point. Where's that? Over in repositories, plugins. Yeah, so we had this really, really dumb database class here, MySQL. Yeah. So this is what kind of handled all the JDBC connection stuff, and it was very basic, but it was very non-performant at all, and very, yeah, very ghetto. I just cobbled it together because, it was this is probably the third or fourth iteration of this class, but it doesn't get the job done at all, especially when you have 30 or 40 players on. The server just crashes because it's doing so much stuff on the main thread. And I don't know, maybe this iteration actually was nice. I don't remember. I never actually got to test this in production because I was working on a rewrite, and then that project flopped, and I'm really bad at letting projects flop and not finishing them. So yeah, that's the old MySQL class. Well, now we're going to be using Hibernate and JPA, which abstracts so much of that, and we use it at work. So I'm kind of experienced already with that. But I'm trying to dig into some more. With MySQL, MariaDB, I haven't decided yet as a backend. I actually haven't connected to a database yet. I'm focusing on writing the unit test first and then getting the plugin going in a Minecraft server. So you may not see me play any Minecraft today. I'm sorry, I know I classified it as a Minecraft category on YouTube, but hopefully nobody cares. So yeah, Hibernate has a dependency on JavaScript API, so I just added that in there because it was having some issues when I didn't. I might pull that out at some point and see if it works without it. But then Hikari CP is our connection pooling library. They're like, I don't know if you're familiar with C3PO or some others, but yeah, it just handles the connection pool so that when you have lots of connections open at once, it can handle them efficiently. I just want to check. Cool. And then SLF4J, this is literally just to silence the stupid warnings that say, like, you don't have a logging provider. And I was like, whatever, I'll add the dependency. So yeah, that's that. And so Juice is Google's library for dependency injection. Dependency injection is very useful for when we go ahead and do JUnit tests, which is up next down here in Mockito. But so basically, Juice will allow us in our, like, let's say I go into a command player, no, rank. Where are you? Rank command. So let's say I want the player DIO. I just put an inject in front of it, and it magically gets put in there by Juice because Juice does its all reflection thing, and it's really nice. All I have to do for that is create this binding class, this module that holds the plugin instance, and then everything else is pretty much automatic, and I'm really happy about that. I actually pulled that. Let me pull up that. What is that? Juice bucket. I'll put that in the description because this was actually really helpful for me to get this going. It was a little confusing at times, but this was amazing for me to get going. So yeah, I'll put that. How did I do that? I shouldn't be doing this on the live stream, but why not? My channel. Okay, there's Inception. Let's put this in the edit video. So I'll put that in there, and then I'll put more in there as we go along, because this might be helpful to you. I don't know. This is really going to get into complex stuff. Like, this is not your low-level Minecraft plugin development, like, create a plugin.yml. Well, I know how to do that. Like, I'm not going to go over that. If this becomes a thing, and, like, you guys, I mean, I'm going to say you guys, it's probably 1 or 2 people, of course. But if anybody's watching this and they want, like, basic Minecraft, like, Bukkit best practices, like, totally, I would love to make those videos. But I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a programmer. So pardon if this style isn't working. I'm just trying to give it a shot. So yeah, so this is gonna be more in-depth Java best practices and like DIO, VO, like how to model your application so that it's future-proofed and not like a whole bunch of static references. And yeah, so yeah, the injection definitely helps to prevent the static references. Because like normally you'll have, like in a lot of Minecraft plugins, you'll go into like, say here and, well, okay. So like I'll say private static, this is the plugin instance of Medieval MMO instance. And then you'll go into like the constructor or the on enable, that's what it is. And you'll say instance equals this. And then you'll make a getter. So I can just do at getter. I am using Lombok, which is essential. It reduces so much boilerplate code, especially in your VOs, like your data. All I have to do is add getters and set at getter and at setter, and it's all there automatically. That really helps a lot. But back to here, like normally you'll have, people will do this. They'll put private static instance and then store the current instance of their plugin into this field. And then they'll go into another class and say, like, medieval MMO dot get instance, and then do their operations dot get server or dot get logger, or you know, stuff like that. This is not enterprise Java best practices. This is, I mean, it's great for small plugins. I'm not discounting it. Getting started, to do that. Like, it's something you don't want to worry about when you're first learning Bukkit. Like, yeah. So totally, if you're just getting started, this is fine. But this plugin, if it becomes a full-fledged thing, it's going to be a real MMO. Then and my brother has been writing up ideas for it. Then we don't want to do this. This is not scalable. This is very ghetto. So I'm going to pull that out and not do that because we're using dependency injection. So basically what dependency injection does, I mean, to be entirely honest, it's doing the same thing, but without the static references. So it's storing your current instance in I don't know if it's a static instance or what, or static class, but the injector stores the instance. So that way, when you're doing it over here, you don't have to call a static method. It's all automatically injected. And Juice, this is industry best practices. Juice will inject it for you. If you're using Spring, which is a very popular Java web framework, it'll include, I don't think it uses Juice, but something else. I don't know. They have their own thing. It does the same thing with services and with repositories, and it'll automatically inject these things for you. So yeah, so that's Juice. It does the injection for me. It'll inject the logger and the DB class automatically. If the DB class isn't instantiated, this has a transaction manager or entity manager. If it's not instantiated, it will instantiate it for you and inject all the logger and entity manager automatically. Perfect. it makes things so much easier. So I did actually pull out a lot of code here because I wanted to start over with the database stuff. This is the only code I copied because it was just kind of helper classes, like utilities. I hope that we can figure this out after we get unit tests written. So yeah, I'll go back to here and explain the unit tests. Here we have, JUnit, which is the standard Java unit testing library. If you don't know what unit tests are, basically when you do a unit test, you're testing a very small aspect of your code. So I'll just go into one to test, kick command. This is a very basic command. I don't expect you to be familiar with the context because this is my project and I'm not really going to go over all the code, but basically what this command does is you run /kick player name and then the reason, and it kicks them from the server and tells them this is why you were kicked. Well, here we're creating these mocks, and so these mocks are basically stub classes. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but a stub class is basically a class that, let's say I wanted to make an implementation. This might be confusing for some of you too, but bear with me. Let's say I wanted to make a player, and I wanted it to be my own custom player. Well, you can't just do that. That doesn't work. You can't create a player. Normally, if you were doing Bukkit NMS, any kind of low-level code, you would do new craft player, and you would say, you can't really do that, but in theory, because craft player is the implementation, you would have to instantiate the implementation instead of instantiating the interface, which you can't do. So the alternative, we're going to say new player because we want our own custom player implementation. Well, look at this. I'm going to sit here for a minute. Look at all the methods player has. It's insane. It's still loading. Okay, we'll see how long this takes. I might crash my IDE. I'll take a drink here. There we go. After long last, it generated all of these methods. And these are all methods inherited from the interface. This is the interface. No implementation. Craft player would be the implementation, but we don't have craft bucket or craft spigot or whatever they call it, the spigot implementation. I try to not work off the implementation because you get into version-specific code and it's just such a pain. I'm sure eventually I'll have to, but at the moment I'm just building the structure and we don't need to worry about that. So yeah, so if you wanted to create an implementation, you would basically put in dummy data here. You would say, return null is dummy data. So basically whenever you call get display name, it would return null. Well, this is absurd. You're not going to create an implementation of every class you want to test, or every class your tests depend on, or every class your classes depend on. So instead of this, I'm going to delete it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. Page up here. Okay. So we're going to undo that. Mockito is the library that integrates with JUnit and makes this so much easier. So instead of having to create that many methods, which is insane, that's why I'm laughing, because it'd be impractical and the other way. Mockito lets you just do this, mock player.class. And what that does is it literally creates what we saw just a minute ago, but in one line of code. And you can do that for any class, and it's automatic. It's amazing. So now, if I want to create an implementation of one of those methods that returns my own custom logic, I can do when punishedPlayer dot get name. So punishedPlayer is our player that's mocked. We want it to return a custom name, so we'll just say .end return string punishedPlayer, and that's the name of the player. You can't really have spaces in player, so player name. So yeah. So now, if any of my dependent code, like let's say utilPlayer had, like, we have all this code, but like get game mode here. Let's say we're using this method, get all include spectators, and in here it calls as get game mode. Well, if we do a mock, get game mode is going to return null because that's the default return type, or that's Mockito sets it as default because it's a mock, so it's supposed to just return dummy data. So we don't want that to happen. So when I'm testing this, if I want to say, hey, there's a spectator, I can say when get game mode is called, return game mode dot spectator, and that will basically act as if the player that we're referencing has a game mode of spectator. And so when that method is called, it's going to return spectator because we told it here in the test return that. So that's why down here I'm saying when utilPlayer.getPlayer any player VO, which actually I want this to be no, yeah, that works. So when utilPlayer.getPlayer any player VO. So whenever it is called with a player VO class, whenever this method is called, then return this punishedPlayer. And it's up here, and this is mocked in the setup method. So the setup method, basically every time you run like a test here, like I'm pointing, but that doesn't work. Obviously, I need to highlight. So we have this test. Every time this is run, or every time this is run, it will execute these before that. It's always good. I mean, I like to do it. I'm not gonna say it's best practice because it's all personal choice. I like to put all of my mocks and instantiations of any variable in the setup method. So that way, if we create more tests in the future, it's all already there, and we can just come down here and create a new test with an edge case. Well, yeah. So let me look at how many people are watching this. One person. That's probably me. I don't know. Yeah, feel free to pitch in the chat if you're watching. I'd love to know you're there. But yeah, so I'm working on unit tests, and so I already wrote these for basically all of the punishment classes. Let me undo this. Git revert, yeah. So now sorry, I'm really nervous, and I know that shows in the video, but I'm trying my best. This is my first live stream. Let me see about Twitter, if anybody. Cool. Okay. Back to the chat, just in case anybody chats. Okay. So yeah, and now let's go back to the pom.xml. I'll pick up where I left off. So we can just say close all buttons. Where's that? Close others. Okay, so we have these dependencies on JUnit, which is the unit testing library that allows us to test Java code and then we are depending on Mockito, which is the mocking library that handles all of that boilerplate logic for us, and then AssertJ. So AssertJ is this library that basically makes it more easy for us to here, I'll just show you AssertJ. I have a great tutorial here. It's all right here. It's really easy. So in your tests, so let's say here. So I'll just show you here. Assert that punish.getPunishments is not empty. So it's basically telling JUnit, make sure that the punishments array is not empty. If I wanted to, I could do something like this. Like I could say assert punish.getPunishments dot size is greater than 0. Yeah, so that'll do the literal same thing. Like, it's literally just for plain English reading. So it's really so that anyone could come in here and just read it, and it's super easy. Instead of assert like greater than 0, you have. I mean, it's just a little more computational in your head logic that you have to pull off. Like assert that is not empty. It's just a helper class. It makes it a lot easier to be able to interpret the test. Tests are supposed to be very verbose and very easy to read. Your code, I don't care how complex it is. I don't care like what you do. The test needs to be easy to read, and that's why I have these all right here. And it's really easy to read. Assert that the get type that the type is equal to kick. Like, just read through it, and it's really simple. Like, don't like combine. I don't think you can do that, but like, don't do weird stuff in your tests. If you need to, you just add another test down here. Say you need to test an edge case where I'm going to kick notch, and I specifically want to kick notch. Do it in a separate test. Don't do it in. Yeah, don't add a ton of logic. It should be easy to read. 1 second. I'm gonna text someone. Okay. So, yeah, I just texted a friend that I'm streaming, so. Be nice to know what you guys think, because I think it says only one person's watching right now, but like I have no idea if that's even one person or if that's just me. I think it's just me. But this is fun nonetheless. I'm just nervous. Okay. So now the last dependency after AssertJ. AssertJ is just a helper. Like I could go without it, but it really, really helps to have fluent assertions for Java. Perfect. So now I have a last dependency called mockbucket. And I haven't actually gotten into mockbucket. I may actually remove it, because so what mockbucket does is it's this library by CCMelk, and what he's done here is really nice. It basically, and it's really active. The project is. It's an implementation of Bukkit built for testing. So it's good for like integration tests, not for unit. I mean, they say unit tests, but the thing is, so here, I'll show you an example. Like if I go into this kick command test, what I'm doing is I'm calling this commands method directly, and in this commands method, I do the logic. So I'm testing this logic alone. This is my custom logic that I wrote, and that's what a unit test is supposed to do. It's supposed to test your logic and assume that everything else is in perfect state, or everything else say all the other code is perfect, which Bukkit is far from perfect. There's a lot of issues with it. But assuming that everything that you're responsible for works fine, and that's the point of unit tests. So in here, I am testing just this method. If I wanted to, with mockbucket, I could actually, so I'll go into some deep logic here. I am actually using the player command preprocess event in here. Oh, That's in the command manager, isn't it? You go into the command manager. I am using command preprocess event. So what I could do is trigger the command preprocess event and then go through all the like here, I can just say like, I can't really do it right now, but what I can do is I can create an instance of this player command preprocess event and then send it to the mock Bukkit server to be executed. Let's see if they have an example. They don't, but I can send it to this to be executed, and then it'll go through all of this logic, but then it'll also go through, let's see. So there's the command.execute method. It'll also go through this logic here, and then it'll also go through the command logic. So that's the issue, because unit tests are supposed to be small. An integration test integrates all of your command frameworks together, or sorry, all of your logic together to make sure it flows end to end. And that would be what you want to do here. And that would be what you'd want to use mock Bukkit for, because it would test that logic from the very beginning. It would say, it would be like, hey, I want to make sure I can start a Bukkit server, trigger an event, and follow it through to completion. That's not what I'm trying to do here. Here I'm trying to process a command, the kick command. I want to make sure this logic works as written. And so that's why I am only testing that, and I'm not using mock Bukkit at this point. I was still learning initially, and I ran into some issues with mock Bukkit. Also doesn't support, like, it doesn't support a lot of the methods that Bukkit uses. I mean, I can go in here and show you, like, in here, there's only so many things implemented. Sorry. Work Bukkit command. I don't know. No, that's not right. But yeah, so they throw these exceptions and it's perfectly all right. Like, I understand they're an open source project and they're not going to be implemented for a while. I actually might contribute some pull requests here in the future if I get time. Just trying to think. So yeah, world mock. So world mock extends or implements world, and I don't know. I guess it. Yeah. So it extends world, and it's a mock implementation of world. So it's like what I was doing with Mockito, except they are doing the long way and doing the whole class, which in this case makes sense because Bukkit in and of itself is not written to be tested. It does not use dependency injection. It's very, very ghetto. They do have some tests in Spigot, I think. I don't think Bukkit did originally. I have no idea. But it was not built to be tested along with the plugins, because Bukkit plugins it's a video game. Like, seriously, you've got to be of a huge scale to be doing this. And I'm probably not of that scale, but I wanted to learn, so that's why I'm doing this. So, yeah, so they have all these mocked methods, and this is a mock implementation of the world class from Bukkit. So I'm not currently using mock Bukkit. I would love to, and I'd love to contribute to their project. So I'll put this in the description of the video. We'll do that right now. Save that. And then that way, if anybody's interested, they can look at it. So yeah, that dependency is in there, but I'm not using it right now. Yeah, I wonder... Yeah, so like this is a very simple JUnit test. And honestly, I probably don't even need this test because the logic is so simple. So like, let's say I have this rank enum, and this is the list of ranks that will be on the server. I did steal this from the Infinite MC code as well. But I have a permission level, I have a prefix for chat, and I have the name of the rank is the key of the enum. So I have this method that is from string, and I should probably document it. Yeah. So gets, no, I don't need to document this. So that is a pet peeve of mine, is when people document things saying, like, if the method name is from string, you can kind of deduce it's a rank from string. So yeah, you don't need documentation for that. So I'm testing this single line of code with two different lines of code. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying rank from string is not null. So I'm making sure that when I get the default rank, it is not returning null, that it's finding the rank in the enum successfully. But if I want to make sure that it does, because the logic here says it returns null. I want to make sure that's true. I want to make sure my logic here is correct. So I created a test that says rank from string invalid rank test is null. that basically is searching for a rank that doesn't exist, and I wanted to make sure it returns null. So, sorry, talking a lot. So here it returns null, and I can actually, I'll show you, I can run these tests, and it's amazing. It just runs the tests and they work. And it'll hopefully tell you they succeed. Yeah, so there, they succeeded. Now, I'll show you a cool trick here. And if you're not familiar with testing yet, this will be especially cool for you. There's this cool unit of measure called coverage in a Java project. Well, in basically any project that you unit test, .NET, in C, in C++, I don't know. But in my Java project, there's coverage. And so I just want to make sure, for sure, that all of this logic is covered in tests. So I will say run with coverage, and it will tell me that I've fully successfully tested all of these methods, which is only one. So this is not the best example, but I'll go to another one in a minute once this finishes. Yeah, it takes a while. I am on a laptop, so apologies for the speed. Yeah. So, yeah, here. So, here's the rank class. Let me, whoops, see, where did that go? Window, view to Windows. Coverage. Okay. So, here you can see that the test coverage of this class is, well, the class is covered. It's just saying 100% class coverage. And then, because I do have a test in this class, and that's correct. Then I have 66% method coverage, which means that these two methods are not covered, whereas this method and these five methods, these five methods are covered. That's I don't know. But they're covered. But so 8 out of 10 of the lines of this class are covered. So basically, I can see that this line of code is covered. Now the reason these aren't covered is because hi Cody. So the reason these two lines aren't covered is these are literally getters and setters. So I have, well, it's just a getter in this case. So I have Lombok creating getters for both of these variables, so that you can say get prefix or get suffix. Oh, that doesn't work, but yeah. So I could go into this rank test over here and say, I want to assert that rank dot moderator dot get prefix dot equals or dot is equal to, and then I can copy this. But why would I do that? Like, why am I testing this? There's no point. There's no reason why I need to test this, because this is, I'm basically saying set the prefix variable to be this, and then get it. When I'm testing this, when I'm saying make sure that get prefix is equal to this, I'm just adding an extra step of logic that nobody needs, nobody asked for, because it's just like, you're testing that Java works, is the thing I'm trying to say. Like, there's no reason to test Java works. Getters and setters work. You don't need to do any weird mumbo jumbo to test them. Like, so I don't really care that 4 out of 6 methods are tested. That's not a big deal to me. Yeah, like, you want to make sure as much of your code is tested as possible, but when it's literal IO logic, it's just getters and setters, there's no point at all. So, so this code, sorry, I was distracted. So yeah, this code will not be tested in my code. Now, if I ever, like, I don't know, do something crazy, like let's say I want to public string get prefix, and I want to add some logic saying if owner, this is really dumb, but like if owner equals developer, then return null. I don't know. This is really, really dumb. Then I would test that logic because there is a flow of logic there. But when it's literally just return prefix, which is what Lombok is doing, there's no reason to test that at all. Never, ever. So don't do that. Okay. So now I'm ready to move on to my actual development. So this live stream was built to be me developing and then you kind of watching, but I did spend the first like half an hour explaining everything, which is okay, I think. So wow, it has been half an hour. Okay. Wow. Take a quick drink of water or Gatorade and get into this. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so basically I have a bunch of these. Oh, I wish I could comprehend half of the things you're doing. Well, it's the sort of thing, this whole thing is stuff that you learn. I mean, I've been programming in Java. Okay, I'm 18. I started coding in Java when I was like 12. So it's 6 years of experience there with Java. Like, you just gotta commit and do it over and over and over and keep trying because like I got a lot of stuff off of YouTube, off of the Oracle Java docs, off of all sorts of stuff, and it just takes grunt work and like you just eventually learn it. Doing it in practice is the best way to learn. I figured that out because we had this Minecraft server called Climax PvP years ago, and that's how I learned the majority of what I know of Java. And yes, at first did you like doing it, or was it? It was very frustrating. It was so frustrating to start learning because so I started out with the objective of learning Bukkit, and Bukkit is the Minecraft server API for those who aren't aware. And I wanted to learn how to make Minecraft plugins and mods, and you know, like a gamer would. Like gamers love mods, and so I wanted to learn that. Turns out that's not the best way to learn Java. Learning Bukkit is not Java. So you need to learn Java before you learn Bukkit for all you gamers out there. Because it's the base knowledge of Java is so important. And it was really nice to start out with some practical implementations of what I was learning, but you still do need to learn the base of object-oriented programming. Codecademy has a lot of cool stuff to learn. YouTube, I just watch videos like this one, except this one's a little high level. So yeah, like it was definitely frustrating for the first probably year or two. Like there were lots of times where I'd sit there and think for an hour or two and not find a solution, and then eventually I would. And it still happens day to day, but it's not like as often. So now I love it because it's just like, now that I've learned the basics, I'm getting into this more complex stuff, and it's getting really good. So yeah, I mean, now I love doing it, but it's definitely grunt work from the start, and you can't just like say, I want to make mods. Well, you gotta learn how to make mods before you can just make mods. So you can't just go into it thinking you're gonna magically make these mods. So yeah, let's jump into this. I'll continue to take questions from the 3 people watching the video. If you want to ask questions, I'm totally available. Thanks, Cody, for asking questions. It's nice to be able to talk to someone. So I'm going to hop into... I wrote all these tests for the punishment commands, and so I'm basically going to finish writing tests for the unpunishment commands, which may seem boring, but it is... Basically, I'll go over exactly what I've been doing in the other ones. It's very similar. So I'll show you, I'll minimize that. Let's find punishment command. Here we go, unban command. We will open this up.
Move right. Okay. So we have this logic over here. And what we need to do is test every possibility of this execution path. So here we have get player. So to start out, well, okay. So I'll go through what I have. So I went through the constructor of this class, and I'm injecting the util server class, the player DAO class, and the punishment DAO class. And, or DAO, I'm going to say DAO, but it's data access object, I think. And so that basically means this is going to access the database. It runs a query on the database. I'm injecting that because I don't want to have to worry about instantiating that. I let Juice handle that because it knows what it's doing, and I don't. So no, it's just a lot simpler to maintain your code if you're using dependency injection in big frameworks, in big projects. So yeah, I have this, and when I'm using it in Bukkit, Juice will come into play and inject the variables automatically. But when I'm testing with it, I don't use Juice. I don't, because I need to inject custom mocks of these classes. So we have the util server class, the player DAO class, and the punishment DAO class. I need to inject mocks, which basically, is the mock implementation of the classes. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm instantiating these fields with mocks of each of these different classes, and then I'm inserting them into the constructor of the unban command class. And then, okay. So now I want to test an unban. So here we have this execute method, and so I want to execute the command. So I will say command.execute here, and then we'll say player. So this is where I need the mock punished player. Except it's not the mocked punished player. Let me look at the ban command. I think I had fixed this over here. Or, oh, sorry. I think I had fixed this ban command test. No, it is punish player. I'm trying to figure out, because perm punish, player VO punisher. So that's the thing. I had mixed this up to be... yeah, okay. That's it, because this perm punish is a different implementation than what, yeah, because I made a separate extended class. So I'll go into here and we'll execute, so player, I need to figure out what player is and possibly rename this. So this is actually a punisher. That will help clarify this. I'll actually go into the unmute command and also rename that. This is a lot of copy-pasted code, and I might go back and refactor that later because, if you look, the logic is exactly the same for both of the un commands. I just at first didn't see the need in creating a custom extension for two classes. I think it's okay at two classes to copy and paste unless they're completely off. Yeah, I mean normally you would refactor this, but I just haven't gotten to that yet. I'll do it eventually, as every developer says, and then they don't do it. How's the lighting in here? Okay, that's decent. So now I want to test this. So execute. So punisher is, see over here. I think that is it the warn command? Yeah. So the warn command takes in a punisher. Oh, does the ban command do that too? Yeah, it does. And I'm mocking the punisher. It's a player VO. No. Here it's a player. So I might need to mock two players. I might need to mock the punished player and the punisher. So I think, yeah, I will. So I'll do that. The punisher player needs mocked as well. Do I even... I don't think... No, I don't even need a punished player. I can just use the punisher player. Okay. If you want clarity on any of this, please put it in the chat. And I understand some of it's probably... Sorry, 1 second. I am sitting on my bed right now. Some of it is probably... I mean, it's very high level... Or high level, low level? I don't know. It's complicated stuff. And I understand that you probably don't understand a lot of it, but I will do my best to explain I love explaining things. So, and I may not entirely know how to explain it, but I'll do my best. So, okay, Punisher player, and that is our mocked Punisher player. And then we'll say DB player. So the thing is with the DB player, it is an instance, so I like to section it out a little different. I'm not mocking it because it is a VO. It's part of my own code. What is DB player even doing? I don't think DB player does anything. Let me look over here. Punish. No. Oh, it was here in the perm punish command. Punished. So in my perm punish command tests, I think I have an example. Yes. Okay. So I do mock the Punisher here. Or I don't mock it. I create an instance of it. Yeah. Okay. And this is some more complex logic because it's an abstract class, but I might go into that later. I don't know. Punisher. Okay. Oops. So the thing is, I am suffixing the player with player and the player VO. I'm not, because in my head it makes sense to not suffix it if it's your own code. So like player VO, that is my own class, whereas player is a Bukkit class, so that's why I suffixed it. That's just how it works in my head. I'm sorry, it's a little confusing, but I'm giving it my best shot. Kind of improvising this as we go. So now this is an args array that's inserted into the command and then parsed. So the first arg is the player here. So the player name, I just put in player because why not? It doesn't really matter. It could be a blank string. It could be anything. Sorry. Second. It could be anything. But here, I'm going to change that. Okay, so we have the execute, but the thing is, this doesn't do anything on its own. So like, I'm gonna run it. Oops. Just to show you that it doesn't do anything on its own. It'll fail. I mean, well, it will. I think it will fail. Yeah, it'll get a null pointer exception probably. Oh no, it passed. Okay. Well, so the thing is, I need to mock this method. So if I look over here, when util player like a player, any player VO, because this is different because it's a player DAO, not the util player. So I'm gonna write this from scratch here. So before I execute the command, I need to add the when statement. So that way, Makito will intercept the call to that method and return what I want it to return. So .get player, any string.class. I need to import that. Import static method. It is Google inject. Does that not work? Oh, what am I doing? Sorry. This is. Wait, I thought it was any. No. I cross-reference, like, sometimes I'll search something and I'll get it off the internet and then I'll cross-reference my own code because I used it somewhere else. Like, I pull it from Stack Overflow and I insert it in my code and I know exactly where I put that. So then instead of looking it up again, I just reference my own code. That's why you'll see me jump around a lot to like other things I've written, because then I can do this. So let me do any. So yeah, that is what I was doing. I think any string. Oh, I must have imported the wrong. I don't know. Okay. So any string.class. What? Is this right? No. Where is this imported from? Oh, org Makito. Okay, so it is a different. Whoops. Sorry, it's not Kong Google Inject. It's org Makito. Sorry. Yep. Then return. Punisher. Yes. Punished. Sorry. So I do need a player VO for punished as well. And looking ahead a little bit, I just want to do this now. Thank you, John or Josh, whatever. I realized that. Yes, thank you. So okay. So looking ahead a little bit, I programmed this. This was a long time ago, but in the Lambda, I programmed punisher.getName. So basically, punisher and target.getName. So these methods are referenced in here, and so if I really wanted to be stringent about my tests, I would set the name of the player in here. I would say like punisher.setName, and then put a dummy like punisher player. And then down further, I would test that to make sure that it was put in that string. But I don't really see a need to do that in this scenario. I think we're doing fine without it. So, so basically, return punished. So now this target here will be set to this punished here during the test. So now punishment get active punishment. So here we're simulating if there is an active punishment, then it will return it within this lambda, or it will execute this code. So we're going to want to test both of these lines of logic, but I will, for now, I'll just start with this. So I will, so when player, then return punishment. Sorry, I'm catching my place. When punishment get active punishment, and it should be target is that player we just returned, so I want to make sure it equals that player. Equals punished. Yes. Dot. Oh, punishment type. So the thing is, like over here, I do some tests and I make sure that it does. Yeah, it does make sure that the punishment type is equal to ban. But I don't think I need to test that here. No, because it's just a getter. I'm not going to test that. So. Ban. Okay, when then return optional dot of new punishment VO. And so here it's critical to look at. So if we look in here, we've got punishment VO set canceled true. So canceled defaults to false. So that means if I test this and for some reason this doesn't set to true, I want to make sure it fails. So, but it should set to true in this case. So I will do a check. So I don't need to really do anything with this. I'll just, well, yeah, I don't need to do anything with that. So I'll basically say verify on, wait, no, okay. I want to make sure I do, oh God. Sorry if I'm boring you guys. This is actually really interesting to me. I've been learning a lot the last couple of days. Let me see if my friend responded. Okay. So I think I'm going to store this punishment object up here. No, I'm not going to, because in this scenario we want to test not banned, so I'm going to set it up here. No, not DIO. Oh, VO, yep. And then we're going to set the type, or no, sorry. Okay, yeah, okay. So then return punishment. So now we want to make sure that we verify that punishment, or no, we can assert that, sorry. Verify is for method calls, assert that is for fields and or methods. No, that's JUnit. Gosh dang it. Assert that from assert J, and then now I have to update in the middle of the stream. Assert that punishment dot get canceled, or is canceled dot is true. Yep. So basically what I'm doing here is set canceled is so that later on in the database, if we want to see a player's like previous punishments, I'm setting it to true rather than just deleting it out of the database. Because if we delete it out of the database, we don't get any records for that player, and there's like that's no fun. We want to make sure that we have a history. So like if a player has been banned in the past, they're going to get a more severe ban in the future. So now I want to verify that we call this save because I want to make sure that it persists to the database. So I want to verify punishment dio dot save any actually punishment. Yep. Okay. And then we want to verify that we call utilserver.broadcast. Oh, wait, no. Oh, wait, okay. And command test. So here I am doing verify.broadcast. Okay. Sorry, there. No. Okay, so the thing is with assert J, you have to use you can't just say dot save punishment. You have to use equals because that's how it works. So now I can do any string.class and then equals rank.moderator because I want to make sure that no matter what, it's never good. Like if I change this to default, I want it to fail. And I'll show you a demo in a minute. So now, sorry, mine was in the background. Yeah, so I'm verifying that I broadcast to the moderators. And that saves through. Yeah, so now I'll run this test. I'll see if it works. Yeah, it took me forever to write that test. You get faster and faster as you go. It used to take me 45 minutes, I don't know, to write that test. But now it takes me 20 minutes. It's just experience. So yeah, it passed. So now I want to set an example. So like, let's say rank default. Like, let's say some rogue developer is like, I want bans to broadcast to the whole server. I don't know. That would be really dumb. But there are legitimate use cases, so we'll see. Like, this should fail. I mean, you can deduce that. Yeah, so it failed. Wanted moderator, but it actually invocated with default. So that's why we do JUnit tests. So like also like here, I'm testing like this should work, but like let's say I just for some reason like if I can just comment it out actually. Let's say I just want to comment this out. Really bad example, but like let's say for some reason the code logic cannot flow to this method.
like if an exception is thrown, or if there's a null pointer exception, or whatever, we want to make sure that that is caught before it gets into the server, because, or like if a method in another class changes, like we want to make sure that nothing affects this logic from flowing correctly. So here you see true, false. Wait, what? Yeah, so you can see it did not set the punishment to be canceled. And so our test caught that this logic did not run. Now, if later on we encounter more bugs in a certain specific area of our code, we'll write tests to cover that. Like, if we repeatedly have issues with some command or some listener or something, then we will write a unit test to cover that. So now I can go down to unban not ban. So this unban not ban, I'm pointing at my screen, and that doesn't help you. This is referencing this logic here. So I want to make sure that this logic also works. That player is not currently banned. So basically, if a player is not currently banned, it's not going to find any punishments for them. So what we need to do over here is say when player DAO dot get player actually, so this when statement, sorry, I keep jumping around. This when statement can come up here because this is shared logic amongst all the tests in this class. This is not going to change. We don't need to really change anything about this in any specific test. Although, if the player is null, I don't know what happens in that case. That might be something I need to fix. Here. Okay, so right now I'm just going to copy and paste this, which I will fix in a moment. When punishment DAO dot get active punishment. But then return null. So, oh wait, no, optional dot empty, because I'm using optionals with the DAOs. And I might use optionals more throughout this code. I'm not super good at them yet. So we're returning an empty optional, which will then trigger this logic here to be executed. So now I can basically say verify punisher player, sorry, dot send message any string dot class. So I'm testing now that this edge case that, I mean, it's not really an edge case because if I type in a player and they're not banned, that's correct. So, okay, I would not get a null pointer exception because this is going to, so it's going to have null as a player, to set parameter player to null, and it's going to return no results, although we can test that just to be sure. So we'll say, well, let's just, sorry, is this test not passing? I forget. Is it true? Okay, so we'll run all these tests. Okay, so that didn't work. Let's see why. Very simple thing. There were 0 interactions with this mock. Oh, I forgot to run the command. That'd be helpful. One second. Texting one of my family members the link to the stream. Next thing you know, my grandparents are going to be in the stream watching. Program in Java. Okay, so now it passes because I inserted the execution. I forgot to execute it, which execution is kind of important to be able to test it. So yeah. So now I want to make sure that when we have a null player that we're also testing that scenario. So at test public void test unban invalid player. I think that's what I called it over here. Like ban no perm punish. Oh wait, sorry, these are the implementations. What am I doing? So if I go down here and do ban command test, I want to test. Like in these cases, what happens when I have an invalid player? So if I have an invalid player, like ban punish. Oh, that's in the inherited logic from the parent class. Okay. But warn? Oh, sorry. Warn command test. Here, test warn invalid player. I want to make sure I named it the same. So when I go here and I say, oh, I'll test like the same thing. Actually, it's when player dot get player. So when that happens, I want to see what happens if I do that. See if any exceptions are thrown, because this could be a bug in my code on the server. No? No null pointers. So we want to make sure that I want to look through this logic because I want to make sure that a null well, no. Yeah, we're not testing this. That stumped me. Punishment get player. So get player is returning null. Target is null. Get active punishment doesn't care. Because I'm not even mocking it in this scenario. This is something we might only be able to test with integration tests. I didn't even think about that. Because this is a very interesting scenario. I know this is bad practice, but I'm going to have to do here. Integration test for null player. Okay. Because I want to make sure that I don't throw a null pointer here. I want to make sure I cleanly, I feel like I need to be doing like if target equals null return, or not return throw new command exception. Unless that checked in the parent class. No. Okay. So yeah, I do need to add logic probably for like if that player doesn't exist or something. But no, that's not in the scope of this test because get active punishment. Okay. So now I'm actually going to delete the unmute class and I'm going to copy this and then make mute test. I'll change this to unmute. And honestly, probably do the exact same thing, which is really bad, but probably really unnecessary too. Because this is literally the same logic. Okay, something cool I'm doing here is for all of the text prefixes, I am copying them into here and referencing them. So if I don't need to change them, they're all in here. I might put like these messages in there. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided yet. That way they're uniform across the whole program instead of having unique ones. I mean, I'll just rename some of these, but. Guess we'll just run these and see what happens. true. This should have, yep, mute. Sorry. Now, why did this pass? That's the question, because this is supposed to be a ban. Not a mute. What? Unmute. Could this be a bug? Active punishment, punishment type dot ban. Why did this not fail? Oh, because it was... Maybe I don't need this mock. Let me try over here with this. Because it might return an optional.empty already, actually, now that I think of it. Okay, so I guess the optionals are automatically filled in by JUnit, so or by Mockito, so it doesn't. I don't need to put that mock option to empty. That will simplify things a great deal. And then, yeah, I don't need that anymore either. Okay, yes, we want that. I'll run all these again. Cool. At least tests ran. I don't know what to do about this at this point. I don't think it's a big deal at this point. So, okay. I have unit tests at this point, I think, for all of the commands. So let me run coverage for all of those commands and see what happens. I might call it a day after this, as far as streaming, because talking is definitely wearing me out. I'm not used to this. Okay. So here, you can see, I'm very proud of this, 100% covered. So I can go into every class and see that every line is covered. In some cases, it's not good to be 100% covered, because 100% coverage could include those getters and setters in the VO class, or like if I go into a VO class, I don't need to really test any of this. Maybe the has rank, but like any of these setters or getters, I don't need to worry about because it's just like they're so basic. But like in here, this is all logic and it's all tested. I'm testing every branch. So I got an unban command. It's testing this and all of this. So I think that's all. Like, I'm very happy. I'm going to commit this. What are the differences here? What did I change in the... I did rename those, yep. Okay, cool. This is a private GitHub repository. I haven't decided if I want this to be open source yet. I don't think so for right now. It might be proprietary, so we'll see. I will... Yeah, we'll see. But I think I'm going to call it quits for today. I don't know. Maybe we do this more in the future. I haven't decided. I like streaming, and maybe this will help share my knowledge with some people who don't know a lot about Java. But yeah, I think that's it all. That's all. So I'm gonna call it a day. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to the Jared station, to the Jared's Java station. We don't sell coffee here, but I know a place where you can get some in Hollister. Sorry.